Hey there, today we're going to be talking about how to start investing. What's up guys, my name is Whitney Hansen. I'm host of the Money Nerds podcast and a financial coach. And if you need a coach, you should hire me. I'll help you get your butt in shape and get your finances moving in the right direction. I love talking about investing and wealth building, and I recently asked you on Instagram, hey, what were some of the things you wanted to know when it comes to investing? A lot of you said, I need help with knowing the basics. How do I start with investing? So today I'm going to share with you 6 steps that will help you get started with investing no matter where you are from a financial journey. I'm going to help you break this down so that you can understand and have a game plan by the end of this video. Okay, first and foremost, it's so important to understand that confidence comes from commitment. When you commit to the journey of learning to be a great wealth builder and investor, you're going to start to build your confidence. And I say that because so many of us have no idea what any of this investing stuff looks like. But if you commit to the process, you will start to build your confidence. So while you are probably a little bit unsure, maybe a little uncertain, have no idea if you're even doing the right steps at the right time, commitment over time is what is going to boost that confidence muscle. Let's get started with step number 1. Step number 1 is to educate yourself. Education is everything when it comes to investing. You have to understand the ins and the outs and just some of the basics. It doesn't have to be full-fledged hedge fund manager style, but you do need to know enough to be dangerous, as I like to say. So what this means when it comes from education, one of my favorite places to get education is books. They're basically free. You can go to a library, you can check out some books for free and start to build your vocabulary and basic understanding level. I did create a video, it's linked in the comments box below, with 4 books that I recommend everybody read for investing. So definitely go check that out and pick up at least one of those books that's mentioned to help you jumpstart your educational journey. All right, now the second step to investing and how to begin investing is to ask yourself, what is the purpose of my investment? Is this for retirement or is this for something else? Either strategy is totally fine, but for simplicity's sake, in most of this investing series that I cover, I generally talk about retirement, but do know that you can still invest outside of your retirement accounts too. It's not only for retirement. But ask yourself, what is that purpose? What is it that you're trying to do? Is it a house down payment fund that you won't need for 5 to 6 years? Maybe you choose to invest that money and let it build up over time, then paying taxes when you go to cash out to go buy your dream home. There's so many different ways to do this, but understanding the purpose of why you want to invest is so critical. General rule of thumb, I usually don't recommend people invest in the stock market if it's a short-term goal that's like less than 5 years to achieve. Usually it's not enough time for that money to really significantly grow. So in general, it tends to not be worth it. Again, totally in general, everyone's situation is so different, but that's just what I found from my own experiences. Now, the third step to getting started with investing is to see what existing options you currently have. If you are self-employed like me, you don't necessarily have these options, but if you work for somebody, you might have a 401k or a 403b or even a 457. There's lots of different retirement options out there. And most of these, the notable piece is that these are for employers to contribute to your accounts. It's a benefit to working for a large corporation or a company that offers that. It's just one of the little perks that they say, hey, here's some extra cash. We'll even match the money sometimes and give you free money. So let's assume you have a 401k and you are not currently contributing to that. If it has a match, that's where I would start. I'd put up enough money into that 401k or 403b to get the match from your company. Again, when they have a match, it's free money. So let's put some math to this. If you have a 5% match and your salary is $50,000, if you contribute 5%, then your company will match you 100%. 50,000 times 5%, that's $2,500 per year that you need to contribute. Why that's cool is because you're putting money into that account, it's growing, it's compounding over time as it is invested in the stock market, and then your company's throwing in another $2,500. So it's a really great way to build up some serious wealth really quickly. So make sure that you are definitely taking advantage of any employer contributed plans. It's just such an important thing to start with. All right, moving on. We're kind of moving pretty quickly through this so far. The next step is to budget your money. Yes, budgeting is part of investing. Why? Because we need to see what your free cash flow is. How much money do you have to work with? This is so critical because we need to see what types of plans and strategies you can put into place. So let's break down a super basic budget so you get the concept and you can start to immediately take action on this. I do have on my blog, whitneyhansen.com/how-to-budget, a total breakdown. It even gives you a free budget template of how to set up a budget. But let's break it down through here. What I want you to do is just list out basically what is your total take-home income for the month. You could even do this per paycheck. Sometimes I actually prefer to do it per paycheck. It just seems to make more sense of like, which bills do I need to pay from which paycheck? So that's just me. You can do monthly or bi-weekly, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, total income minus total expenses equals your free cash flow. Now, if you don't have free cash flow, we're going to talk about that too, but that's where you can at least get started to see how much money you have to work with. A lot of people have a lot of resistance around budgeting. I personally love it. It gives me control, it gives me flexibility, and it gives me permission to spend my money, which as a natural saver, I actually kind of need that. Okay, so let's talk about if you do create your budget and you get to the end and you're like, would be great, Whitney, but I don't have any cash flow. Now what? That's where side hustling comes in. I also have a great video on how to flip furniture, but more than anything, there's so many different ways to make extra money. So if you want to check out the video on how to flip furniture, it's an easy way to make in another $500 to $1,000 per month. Highly recommend it. I think it's one of the coolest side hustles ever because you do it on your own free time, but there's so many different options. You can get a part-time job. You can do DoorDash, Uber Eats, Instacart, so many things to do. The important piece is to ask yourself, would I rather work harder today or when I'm in my 60s or 70s? So what I personally decided for myself is that if I didn't have enough cash to invest, then what I would choose to do at 32 years old, I would much rather go side hustle and work extra hours today because I can and I'm physically capable of doing that and not totally exhausted from life yet. I'd rather do that today than when I'm in my 60s or 70s. So to me, it's a form of self-care, of being able to say, I will do the crappy hard work today to take care of future Whitney. So that's just one of my own decisions that I personally have made. But I think for most of us, we kind of fall in that line. We don't want to be the person that's in their 70s and has to work a part-time or even full-time job just to make ends meet. It's not a good way to go. So I would much rather take care of myself today by doing some of the crappy work in my 30s or even 20s, depending on where you're at. Which leads me to step number 5. Depending on how much free cash flow you have, that determines the strategy that you're going to use to invest. So if you have $1,000 per month extra, that's totally different than somebody that only has $200 extra per month. You only have 200 or less, that is still a very viable amount of money to still invest with. So if you feel like, oh, I don't have enough money, you still do. So I don't want you to feel that way, but the strategies definitely change. So if you only have a couple $100s a month, you may not be able to qualify for some of the really awesome index funds that require a $1,000, $3,000, sometimes even $5,000 minimum. If you don't have that much money immediately, that's okay. You can build up to that. So the place to build up with that is ETFs, which stands for Exchange Traded Fund, or robo-advisors. I personally love beginning investors to use robo-advisors because you can buy what's called a fractional share. So what it means is if you can't invest in a mutual fund or an index fund that has a collection of different companies, that's basically what an index fund is. It's just like a basket of companies in one fund. So if you don't have enough money to buy into this one fund, you can buy fractional shares. So maybe you don't have enough for one share of this, but you have $50. With a robo-advisor, you can still buy a fractional share of this basket of companies. So it's still a way for you to get started with investing no matter how much money you have. The important piece is to get very clear on how much money you have to work with, what that free cash flow is, and put that money to work for you. Remember, confidence comes from commitment. If you commit to this process, you will see results. Your money will start to grow over time. Which leads me to our 6th and final step for beginning investors. And that one is to manage your emotions. The stock market can be a very crazy place. It can feel overwhelming. It's going up, it's going down. And if you don't manage your emotions during this process and just recognize that this is part of the game, this is how investing works. It's good when the stock market goes down and you keep investing, your money goes a little bit further. So when it goes back up, you just made a shit ton of money. That's kind of how this works. But a lot of newbie investors get really, really scared when they see the market fluctuations. Remind yourself that you are investing for the long run, a minimum of 5 years. If it's for retirement, it's probably 20, 30, 40 years away. It's for the long run. So when you see that, remind yourself that this is what the market is supposed to do. It's normal, very, very normal. And start to manage your emotions around that. It can cause a lot of anxiety, it can cause a lot of fear, but if you understand that basic concept, which if I'm being real, so many investors do not get, you are going to be a step ahead of the game for sure. So please do your best to manage your emotions and set that expectation of this is going to build over time and it's going to take time. And honestly, I wouldn't spend more than 30 to 60 days going through all of these steps and starting to implement these in your life. More than anything, even if you're taking action and it doesn't feel like it's the right step or you feel like you're doing the wrong thing, action is always better than inaction. So even if it's not the perfect thing, doing something for investing is always going to benefit you more. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Hope this was helpful, and more than anything, I hope you take action on this information and implement it into your life immediately. I promise you will be well on your way to building wealth. Make sure you like it, subscribe, hit all the buttons, do all the things. I need to work on this. This is like my exit, my outro is always the worst. Anyway, I appreciate you watching and I hope it was helpful. If it was, leave me a comment and let me know what step stood out to you and what you're going to be doing to immediately take action. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.